This is the second part of day one in the trial that began yesterday in Jacksonville, Florida against Mario Fernandez. And Law and Crime is actually calling this the Microsoft executive murder trial. According to the prosecution's opening statement, Mario Fernandez hired someone to take the life of his wife's ex-husband, Jared Bardigan, in 2022. And what's interesting is that the only connection between the person that took Jared's life, Jared, is Mario Fernandez, because Mario actually owned the home where Henry Tenant, who is the accused of taking the life of Jared, lived. Now let's go into the defense's opening statement. They share that Henry Tenant was the one that took the life of Jared Bridegan. They said that Mario Fernandez had no motive, no benefit, no communication, no involvement. He even told jurors that they will never see a text, an email, a call, or a message where Mario actually encouraged, hired, advised, or even incited Tenant. They said the state's case is a chain with missing links. The link falls, the whole thing collapses. They also said that the co-parenting relationship wasn't violent, the custody battle wasn't extreme, and Mario was simply a stepfather trying to raise the kids. They said also that there's no cell phone data showing that Mario and Tenant were ever together, only that their devices were in the general areas. Also, that the gun theory is flawed. Keep in mind that they stated that the 10mm was owned by his friend, who was a JSO police officer who ended up getting a felony. So he had to turn over his weapons, and that was one of the weapons he turned over. When they went to ask him where that weapon was, they said he has no idea where it's at. It's completely gone. He also adds that the investigation was sloppy, that all of the evidence is circumstantial. What's interesting about all of this is that the moment Henry Tenant got arrested for something that had nothing to do with the death of Jared Bridegan, guess who wiped his cell phone? Now let's go into the next witness, which is Janelle Cruz. She and her boyfriend Shane were actually the ones driving and ended up stopping behind Jared's vehicle. She said that they were driving through that neighborhood in Jax Beach. It was very dark, and all of a sudden they had to stop because there was a black SUV in the middle of the road with hazard lights flashing, and another car actually stopped ahead of her. Her boyfriend got out to check. She stayed inside. He immediately says, "Call 911, there's a guy on the ground." At this point, she couldn't see anything because of the darkness, but she's calling 911. They played the call, and she's just saying, "Look, he's on the floor laying down. I don't know if he's hurt." However, they found a little girl in the car, strapped in her car seat. They take her, and she keeps telling them, "My daddy's on the ground. Is the police going to help my daddy? I heard a boom, boom." She wraps her in the blanket until detectives arrive. She didn't see anyone fleeing, no suspicious cars, no movement in the woods. The second witness ended up being Shane, which is her boyfriend. Same thing. He thought that Jared was changing a tire because he saw a tire in the middle of the road. As he approached him, that's when he realized something was wrong, because Jared was face down, motionless in a pool of blood. He calls out to him, no response. He did hear gurgling. He walks around the vehicle just to see if there was a car accident. However, he did stay until the police arrived. He later gave a formal statement. The first officer on the scene is actually Lawrence Smith. He was a sergeant at the time. He shares that when he arrived, he found 200 feet of cars stacked behind Jared's SUV. He had to drive on the grass to reach around them. At first, he thought that maybe Jared tried to take his life, until he rolled them over and realized that there were multiple shell casings. However, there was no gun, no signs of struggle, no fleeing vehicles, no yelling, no active danger. He then checks for his pulse. He performs CPR until the fire rescue arrived. He vividly remembers seeing Kirsten's name on the car infotainment screen. At that point, that's when he realized that was the wife. He did see blood inside of the vehicle, meaning that Jared was in fact shot inside the car. He saw the tire as well as the obstruction that forced Jared to stop. No robbery, because the wallet and phone were still present. Then you've got the medical examiner, and he shares that the cause of death is multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner of death is homicide. 2 entry wounds on the back of Jared's left shoulder, 1 exit wound on the right upper arm. The bullets went through the left clavicle, the left carotid artery, the left jugular vein, the upper airway, and the right clavicle. 1 bullet fragmented inside the body, and the other one exited. He said that Jared would have lost consciousness within 15 to 20 seconds. It wasn't instant, however, it was extremely fast. And he confirms Jared was shot from behind. He collapsed quickly. He could not fight, run, or even call for help. He really felt that it was an ambush. Next video, we'll go into the widow.